Designated Survivor Season 2, Episode 10, Line of Fire. This, of course, was the mid-season finale, and sadly, the end of the episode does come along, and we do find out that, unfortunately, Alex dies at the end of this one, and it really sucks that that happened. Just leading into it, I was just like, it's got to be that, because I mentioned, I believe in my last review, that I heard the actress was leaving the show, and then they had the promo where it was like, oh, something super dramatic, and I'm like, I think it has to be that. Like, that's the only, that's like the only logical answer. So it really sucked that that happened at the end. Also, sorry for this review being a couple days late. I just was super busy this week. I legitimately forgot about the show. I was thinking, because like I had so many shows go to their mid-season finales last week. For some reason, I completely forgot. And I think it was the fact that going through all my shows, like, especially because everything on the CW has mid-season finales, and that's like all my comic book shows. So I was watching like everything all week last week, and it was like, all right, pretty much everything's off except for like this one show that I watch. So I was watching some of my other shows that like just came back on Fridays, and I was like, oh crap, I missed Designated Survivor. So sorry that this review is a couple of days late, but it was definitely a good episode. Of course, a sad ending. I'm very curious where they're going to take the story going into the second half of this season, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think this show does the story elements really well, like balancing the different elements of here's the episode centric sort of story of the week sort of deal, and then here's the overarching story, and they're able to really bounce them off of each other, or at least play in parallel. They may not bounce off of each other, but they play parallel very well, I thought. And they have this great resolution at the end where, and it was great. Once again, there was the lawyer stuff, but it was from Alex's perspective, where she was able to kind of get one on Forsto, where he kind of, released the information a little bit where it's supposed to be this big secret thing, and it's like, well, he decided to do that, so let's go ahead and kind of play his game. And they allow for everything to be public record, and it's like, all right, well, with this investigation that comes from like a 30-year-old thing that, caused a subpoena to be delivered to my mother as well as myself, and cost like $60 million and all this manpower and all this stuff. And it was just really cool. Like when they had, when Forster was getting super mad, he was like, turn the recorder off, and he looked at her. The face she had where she was just like smiling, it was like an evil genius smirk. So I was like, that's just really funny. But I love that scene. So it really sucked that they had it that way, where it was just like, and I'm not sure what the specifics are as to why the actress left. I believe it was her choice, like something probably came up that she had to leave. I don't think they wrote it that way, because it seems like, especially it's only season 2, and the first season, I believe, was about 10 episodes, or, something in the area. I'm probably way off. It was probably, like, I think it was quite a few episodes, because it got popular really fast. But, it's still only the second season. It feels like the show, I don't know, like, with me watching, the first season, I was technically only, like, 2 or 3 episodes behind when I started, but I still feel like, even in season 2, I almost feel like we're still in the first season. I'm like, oh, we, hardly know these characters, and then to have one of them killed off, especially with it being, the first lady, it's just like, man, that's really going to change up the dynamic of the show. So we're going to see that, of course, play out in the mid-season premiere, of course, with Kirkman himself, and then, of course, his children. So, there's just a lot of factors to that. They don't really show the kids a lot in the promo, but, that's just going to be a factor. Like, it's, that's just a really big deal. So I am curious how that's going to play out, but, it was kind of like this bittersweet thing where it's like, oh, she had like, this moment where she was able to get through, just this scrappy stuff that she's been going through with the subpoena and all the, the secret plants of this file by Lloyd, and, it comes to like this sort of happy ending where she beat it, where it's like, initially she was going to go through the plea deal, and Kirkman's like, don't do that, like, even if you're not guilty, like, the fact that you're not means that you shouldn't plead the fifth and all this stuff, and ultimately they have to play the game, and she's able to do it really freaking well and succeed, and it's like, oh, that's cool. And then of course she dies after that, so it sucked. But very emotional, dramatic ending. But the rest of the episode itself was definitely entertaining. I would like to give a really quick nod to Lior. He was super funny in this episode. Hating like the girl singing. The first part when they sing was like one of the funniest things to me, because they're all standing there, and the kids start singing, and he was like, oh, like he jumped when they started singing. So I love that scene. And then of course at the end, he's like forcing them to sing the song. He's like, look, no one wants to hear you sing. Nobody. It was just like, he's so mean to these kids, but that's why I like his character. Like, he's like such a socially awkward character, but he's so funny to watch in this show. So I love that. Him and Seth, like getting somewhat acquainted, where they talk about religion. He's like, oh man, I was adopted, like my last name and stuff. And he's like, oh, it's interesting. Like I'm Jewish. It's like, see, we learned a little bit about each other. It's like, yeah, let's never do this again. Absolutely. And then they just they go their separate ways. But just little stuff like that was really funny with Lior in this episode. Naturally, we have like the main story of this episode, which is the group that is staying in this cabin as like this crazy wildfire is reaching towards them, which is oddly, like, it was really weird. I don't know if like, I'm sure this was always the plan to have this episode here, but I was like, it is so odd how like perfectly timed that, like, it being a wildfire is a part of the episode with everything that happened in California. I was just like, it's so weird that that was like the episode that just took place, but I know they did that like way in advance, so it was just weird. I was like, man, that's like oddly timed that that happened to be like the reason, or like the big issue as to why they couldn't stay in the cabin. But them going through that, and Kirkman having to find a way to basically help save this kid, where they're dealing with religious issues as far as blood transfusions, and this mother who wants to obviously have her child survive, but they basically, the doctor's like, well, we don't want to give her to you because she'll just die. Like, there's got to be a way to do this. So they have to get this doctor who basically has like this experimental treatment, and so of course everything works out. But they do have an interesting moment where the mother does have to kind of be convinced, like, hey, even though you may be against blood transfusions, if you don't do this, like with with your own blood, your daughter will die. So that was an interesting moment, where she had to kind of process like all the information she was taking in, like saving her daughter versus her beliefs, and kind of putting those two things together, where it's helping and healing others, that sort of thing. So it was an interesting way to kind of have that storyline go as well. So I enjoyed that. Of course, Hannah having her storyline with Damien and figuring out that he's the bad guy, and her trying to find a way to get all the information. They get the footage about him being at the warehouse 2 hours early, so we find out he was the one that set off the explosion, and it was just kind of part of the whole play there. So all of that, I was like, all right, well, what's this going to lead to? Because it's going to have to, they're going to have to confront each other. He lied about where he was at, and he was, of course, at her place. And, they go through the whole process, and she realizes that he is the bad guy. Everyone, kind of realizes what's going on. So she's like, all right, I got to, I got to deal with it. I got to take him down. And so she says, like, I know what's going on. He says he has to reach for something. And it's like, okay. So either he's going to reach for this thing, and he actually will be like this crazy triple agent or something crazy like that, or he's actually going to get shot. Like, she's not going to be effing around, and she's going to shoot him like she says. And it ends up being the shot. And I was kind of surprised by that. And she shoots him, and he falls over the bridge too, because I thought it was going to be, what would have been a crazy twist is if he was like a triple agent and she killed him, and he just, like, if he didn't like fall over the bridge, and it was like insanely dramatic. If she just shot him and he actually died, and then she went in his pocket and it was like actual proof that he was a good guy, that would have been a crazy twist. I would have loved that. That would have been real messed up, but like, that would have been a crazy twist. But even the way they handle it, I still really enjoy it. So she shoots him, he falls off the bridge into the water, and then of course we find out that he did actually end up surviving the shot, because he knew something was up. He was wearing that bulletproof vest, and so they have him unzip it for dramatic effect. It was like, obviously if he's alive, it was a bulletproof vest, but it's TV, so they always have to like show them take the bullet out, which I don't think people care that much. Like, it's already there. He's been in the water for that long. I don't think he cares that much about unzipping the jacket and being like, whew, that bullet. So, I don't know. But in TV, they always have to do that. But he is alive and well, and we're going to see him in the mid-season premiere as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and just that crazy interaction, that should be pretty nuts. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Getting some more answers, because now it's like he's dealing with Russians, so he's MI6 officially, but he could have turned. I just don't know. Like, maybe we will. I would say that we might find out that he's a good guy, but even in the promo, they show him holding the gun to Hannah. So, I assume that does mean he's actually, one of the bad guys, but I don't know. That could be he's super cautious about not being shot again. So he's like, hey, sorry, got to hold you up so I can prove I'm actually one of the good guys. This is what's going on. So, once again, promos, I always like to, take with a grain of salt, because it's like, you throw something random in there, and it's like, maybe it's giving something away, maybe it's totally fake. So you just never really know with that. But either way, I'm looking forward to how that storyline's about to play out. I don't know how long he's going to last in the show. If he is officially a villain, and then that may or may not lead to whatever's going on with him dealing with the Russians, because they talk about how that could tie into Patrick Lloyd, who does not show up. That was like my whole thing. That was like my one big thing. Like, I think we'll see Patrick Lloyd. We did not. So he may or may not actually be dead. Still might bring him back. Haven't seen the body. I'm gonna stick to that until the season ends and we start like until we get to like the mid-season finale of the next season. I'm gonna be like, he might still be alive. I don't really know. But for now, we have a new element as far as the villains, and it's the Russians, and they may or may not be involved with Lloyd. They could be doing their own thing. So we don't really know what to expect from that, but I'm looking forward to some answers. But all in all, good episode, sad ending, but I think it should lead to some very good moments. In the next episode, we have both Aaron and Hannah being captured. So I'm curious how the story is supposed to play out, because I would imagine that the scene with Hannah and Damien is like the beginning of the episode, and then Hannah and Aaron being captured would naturally have to come after that, unless they get saved like halfway through, and then Damien shows up like at the end of the episode. That would be a pretty interesting way to do that. So I am curious how those story elements kind of play off of each other. So like which comes first and how that might affect the other storyline. But looking forward to everything we're going to be getting, especially the emotional stuff. I'm looking forward to just how crazy that's going to end up being, where Kirkman has to explain that to his kids, like, you know, especially his daughter. So it's just like, you know, this is everything that happened. So I don't really know how they're going to kind of play around with those ideas, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. All in all, this was a fun episode. Or it was a good episode. I don't know if I can say fun. Like, it was fun kind of leading up right into that end. It was a fun episode. Lior stuff was funny. Getting to see Alex, like, beat Forrestal and the way she was looking at him, that was funny. The stuff with Hannah was just really entertaining. It wasn't funny. It was just like, you know, this dude was tricking her the whole time. And now she's got to, you know, bring him in or, you know, take him down. So I really enjoyed all the story elements, and then it was just like, man, I was hoping that wasn't it based off the information I knew, but sadly it was. But of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. And of course, going into the mid-season premiere, I would love to know what elements you guys are looking forward to seeing, how you guys think things are going to play out with Hannah and Damien. Of course, I want to know what you guys are thinking about Alex's death. That's like the main question, more than anything with the mid-season premiere. Right now we have to deal with the fact that they killed off, you know, one of the main characters. So I would love to know how you guys are feeling about that. Do you care? Do you not care? Ultimately, we didn't get a ton from Alex as a character, admittedly as a whole. And I think just a part of that is we were only in the second season. So, yeah, I don't know. And I feel like we got a lot more from her this season. Even though it was her story arc, or at least part of it was still mostly, you know, Hannah doing the investigations and stuff. And then it was like, all right, here's Hannah talking to Alex. It wasn't like here's Alex involved with every part of her own storyline even. So we still didn't get a ton from her, especially with her, you know, dying only like halfway through the second season. It's like, man, it just feels weird. Like I said, going from the first season to this one, I still feel like it's almost in the first season. It's so weird how, like, I don't know if I've ever really felt that way before. It just felt all super connected, where it's like, that just doesn't seem like it was last year. I feel like that was a few months ago, and it was just like, yeah, that was all of season one. I don't know. I feel like it was all this year, and maybe it was. I don't know. I can't remember how many episodes the first season was, but it couldn't have been that long. I don't know. But, you know, it just sucks that we have officially lost one of the main characters. Again, technically we had that, you know, last season as well, but I feel like, you know, when it's in the first season, it's like, okay, still sucks, but it's like, you know, it's within the first season. You never really know who's going to be a permanent main character. Once you get to season 2, it's typically like, all right, these characters are the established, you know, semi-permanently living characters. And then it's like, well, we lost Atwood in the first season, and now we lose Alex in this one. So I don't think it'll be a trend. Who knows? But yeah, it's a crazy way to kind of end out the year. But like I said, I'm looking forward to the second half of this season. Of course, like I said, I also want to know how you guys are feeling about Alex's death. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.